Hello. Alright, so today we're gonna go over another VOD review. This one's kind of similar to another one. Some of the VODs might start to look akin to other ones, but they are kind of different in their own right, and I found this game really fun. I was really happy with this game, and I wanted to look over it for multiple reasons anyways, because I think there's a lot that I can learn from it, as well as what other people can learn from it. This game ends up being a Kindred Nar reroll. So Kindred Nar, I feel like I have good experience on it now because I've played around Gnar since the beta, and the line hasn't really changed that much in terms of when you want to stabilize. It's a very tempo-based comp, right? You want to have Dryad in early so you can start getting stacked so that by the time you hit your 3 stars, they have a lot of HP and they become these like demon units, right? You typically don't want to pivot around it. It reminds me a lot of 8-bit Riven, which was probably my favorite reroll in the last set. I typically don't like rerolls, but I do like rerolls when they're very like situationally good, like you have a good spot for it. I think the Dryad Gnar line, I'm still not sure if it's like too strong. I see like a lot of people play it in bad spots and you go bot 4, and then some people play it in good spots and you go really easily into like streaking into first and maybe a second. So it's hard to tell, but it reminds me of like that Riven line where it's very like first or 8th based on like how you hit it, but it's a little bit more consistent, which worries me. I think like if you make it a little bit more situational in future patches, it will be a lot better in terms of its balance. Because right now I think that it is a little bit strong. So here, the first augment that I take is pumping up. So right now, I'm not committed to any line in particular. That's the main thing I want to point out, right? So I didn't start the game and say, I have a bunch of Gnars that I want to play, therefore I'm going to play it. But I take pumping up, right? Pumping up is good with Faded. And it's just a generic combat. It's good with Ashe. And it's also pretty good with Gnar. Oh, I re-rolled it because I was a little bit worried. Right, I wanted to play a strong board early because it's prismatic, and I felt like I had a decent opener. I took Tiny But Deadly. Tiny But Deadly is the same thing. It's like pumping up, but it's a little bit better, and it's a little bit better for melee. So what this does is it gives you attack speed, just like pumping up, except it gives it you all up front. So pumping up gives you more attack speed late game, but it's pretty good right now. And then it also gives movement speed, right? The movement speed is really important for comps like Gnar, as well as other melee, because basically like a lot of times like when you're playing a melee unit, sometimes they walk one way and they have to walk all the way to the other side of the board, and there's a lot of downtime where they're not attacking. Melee units always want to be attacking so that they can sustain themselves. They want to keep attacking so they keep recovering HP, and they keep like snowballing, and then they become unkillable, right? But you don't want them to be like ever like standing still doing nothing or like walking around on the board. So that's why Tiny But Deadly, I really like it on melee units, right? If you have like or even stuff like Ghostly, where you want them to walk to like the next target, start attacking as soon as possible, anything where you want them to move. If I'm looking at the lobby, there are a lot of people holding Gnars. I think everybody kind of knows that it's a line that you can kind of, as long as you have Dryad in early, you can kind of pivot into it, and it's a pretty reliable top 4. It's probably the most reliable reroll in order to convert into a top 4 placement. Just because the way 3 costs are nerfed, sometimes you just giga miss, but 2 costs are still at that stage where you can kind of hit them all. I made Morello first, just to have a tempo slam of an item. I don't want to slam this just yet because I'm not quite sure if I should make a QSS. QSS is actually really good on Gnar, right? We can look at the stats after. I'm going to pull up the stats maybe in like 2 or 3 minutes, because in the next augment I want to kind of show the stats, if that makes sense. But I'm not like, it's not like an early slam. I think it's not his best item. It's like his mid item, right? You want a healing probably first. Here for Combat Blessing, I almost always take the HP one. The HP one is just way more sustain. I feel like it's a lot of diminishing returns on the attack and the AP, because usually if you have AP units, they have the traits on the side. So for example, Dryad gives AP. Other things probably will give AP. Things will probably give attack damage. So I usually just take HP because HP is the hardest to come by. Like I know Bruiser gives a little bit of HP, but 150 HP on whole board Especially when you have Dryad, which is stacking HP, and then Bruiser, which multiplicative. It seems very fucking strong. So this guy's kind of playing the same comp as me. He's pumping up, right? So I'm not sure if he's going to play towards Faded or Ash or something like that. So I'm constantly scouting because I'm trying to see, like, I don't necessarily want to go for a reroll line, but not going for a reroll, you really want to be able to streak, right? You want to be able to make it to like level 8, level 9, right? So already here, like, I'm starting to lose fights because people are really strong and I didn't really have any upgrades, right? I do have this Kindred. The reason I'm holding the Kindred is not only could I play Kindred Nar, but Kindred is also Faded, right? And Faded openers are among the strongest, right? You don't necessarily have to play towards Kindred Nar, but holding these units is really good because you can just play, like, you know, if I find a Yasuo, or even if I get this this Thresh, for example, you just play the Kindred with the 3 Faded line, and you just send it like that, right? And you're good to go. Because 3 Faded is really strong just because it gives like a bunch of shield or armor, attack speed, and whatever. And what you'll find out in this game a lot is that I kind of play into like the Faded version of this comp a lot more. Like, you know, like, one thing that you always have to notice, or you always have to think about, is playing flexibly, right? Even if it's a reroll, or even if it's like some kind of like very rigid comp where you need certain units, you should always try and find your strongest board. Here I'm not making econ because I wanted to hold these Kindreds anyway, so I just level. But like I was saying, you always want to find what your strongest board is. You don't necessarily want to be like, I'm just going to play these units because these are the units that are on my little spreadsheet that says what I have to make, and therefore I'm going to make them. I took the Kindred off of Carousel just so I'm Kindred pair because it might make me a little bit stronger. It also gives me a glove, so I slam QSS, right? So what I'm thinking of doing right now, my game plan in general, I want to play towards a melee carry, so QSS synergizes really well with my augment, right? So here's my point. So I'll put a little plan over here. Plan. I want melee carry and then AP backline, right? So there's different ways to play flex, especially in this patch. So I can, when I say melee carry, that can be anybody. Like, that can be Kayn, right? It could be Lee Sin, right? There's a lot of different like melee forecasts. It can also just be a reroll. There's one guy going sniper, so I'm probably not going to be playing like proper Faded Aphelios. This guy looks like he's heading towards Faded. He made a Guinsoo. Now Guinsoo isn't that bad on Kindred. I don't know if he's eventually just going to pivot into Kindred Nar, but I'm just keeping an eye on it, right? I'm not really streaking. I'm trying to think what I could have done differently. I have a board that's like relatively strong, but I just don't have enough frontline upgrade, right? Like, especially here, I probably should not have slammed this item on Gnar. I probably should have, I should look towards playing like a better frontline, right? Like some kind of frontline synergy. Because I am losing a bunch of fights. Now, I am relatively high HP. Usually you want to be at least one thing, right? So you want to be 2 out of 3 things, right? So let's just say like HP, money, and then like board value, right? If you don't have 2 of these 3 things in a game of TFT, you are fucked. That is the end all be all of it, right? You either have to have 2 of these 3 things. If you have all 3 of these things, you're guaranteed top 4, right? Board value means like, do you have upgrades on your board? Do you have units? Do you have like a strong board? Is this a strong board that will recover you econ and make you strong, right? Money. Do you have interest? Are you making bank? Are you at the threshold? Anyways, prismatic orb, I'll talk about that in a second. HP. Do you have a bunch of HP? Can you outlive the people? Could you live long? Use your HP as a resource to build your bank and build your board value. If you do not have 2 of these 3 things, you are fucked. You always have to prioritize having 2 of these 3 things. Right now, I only have 1 of those 3 things. I have HP. My board value is kind of mid. I don't really have that much of a board value, and my econ is kind of mid. I'm level 530 gold, so I'm not in the best spot, right? That comes from me misplaying my opener, right? I could have used my HP to make sure that I made more money. I was playing like a kind of whatever board. It wasn't the greatest, right? So here, anyways, I slammed the QSS. I took out the Gnar because I'm trying to build my strongest board. So the QSS is stuck on this Gnar. That's why I was saying, like, this was a huge misplay that I put the QSS on the Gnar. A lot of times you want to put your QSS on a unit that you might not keep long term. If I was ending up playing Gnar reroll, like, it might work out worse. Syndra is really strong early game, and I have 3 faded, right? If you're not playing around Syndra, like, it's a like, I got the Prismatic Orb that gave me 2 4 cost, right? Prismatic Orbs can give you a slew of items. I find that the 4 cost one is always the worst one, because sometimes you just get 2 4 costs that are absolutely, like, not useful at all. In this case, I got a Syndra, which is actually very useful because it gave me 3 faded, and I'm basically playing around this. Now, I end up taking Idealism here because I have a Hodge 2 slam, so it's already good value, right? I get 2 Hodges. Martyr is really good with Dryads as well, but because I already have a Hodge 2 slam, I'm going to have 2 guaranteed Hodges that I can use for my front line and my back line carry, as I was talking about before. So I put Hodge on Syndra, and then I can put Hodge on, I want to put on the Gnar, but I don't think, I think I'm just confused. Yeah, we should put the Gnar in and just put Hodge on Gnar, because I already put 1 item on Gnar. Oh, I put in this guy. Come on, figure it out. Yeah, I'm too confused. Okay, I put on this guy. Yeah, that's my bad. This is what I mean. I know I misplayed the beginning. So, like, you know, this was just stress. I was playing late at night as well. This was like, I'm Emerald 2 now. I was Emerald 2 0 LP, I think. Yeah, I was kind of stressed because I didn't want to D-rank. But yeah, I just uncharacteristic mistakes like this. Like, they look like huge mistakes when you're watching it in a VOD, but when you're playing the game, you barely even notice these things because, like, you're so dialed into, like, trying to find a strong board that I completely forgot that I had this Gnar here. But I should, like, just lose the Rek'Sai and play around the Gnar. I know I have a Bruiser front line. I am really strong because of this Syndra. I got dropped a unit that I could use, so, you know, it worked out. Some boards didn't get dropped that unit. And I'm recovering, right? I'm gaining Econ, right? I'm level 6. It's 3-2. I'm level 640. That's not that bad. That's still on tempo to be able to hit level 8 on 4-2, right? That's a possibility. Also, I should move this a little bit so you guys can see the round. Give me 1 second. Here, I'll move it down like that. That's how I usually have it. Anyway, so I have Kindred 2 now. I'm playing 4 faded. I still haven't mentally clicked that I have this Gnar on this board. But anyways, I find what's his name, an Aphelios. I just put these units in the front line because my Syndra is doing the most damage, and they're gaining a bunch of shield anyway, so they're almost like a frontline unit. I know that this is a backline unit and this is a backline unit, and they do more damage over here, but I lack frontline, so I just throw them up front. And you can do that with Faded, especially if you have a Thresh, where you pair the Thresh and the Yasuo, and you do the armor and shielding. Then they do, like, really well in the front line anyways. Look at this Aphelios, right? Look how much he's tanking, right? And if you look at this fight, right, that Aphelios tanking all that shit, I might actually win this. I'm pretty sure I win this because Syndra just goes infinite because she has Hodge with Idealism, so she does increased damage and she has the healing, right? Look at this. Isn't that crazy? Holy shit. Yeah, but Idealism with some of these units, Idealism sometimes sneaks its way into being really good. You think of it primarily as like a melee carry type of thing, but especially mid game when boards are not super optimized and you're playing a lot of low cost units, just having a Hodge on some random 4 cost does a shit ton of damage, right? Because it also heals them, so it makes them like go infinite even if they're a backline unit. Especially with Faded, healing is so important with Faded because they gain a bunch of defensive stats, right? Like my Syndra is paired with my Yasuo, so she gains HP and she gains the health shield. So she has like a tankiness to her. But anyways, as you can see this mid game, I'm not really playing in a way that looks like Kindred Nar, right? I'm trying to decide if I pre-level and I go 7, or if I like to tempo to 8 and play around the Syndra and or whatever I have. I'm looking around. Nobody seems to be playing Kindred Nar. There's a couple people that look like they were playing Kindred Nar, but nobody seems to be playing it, right? I have 3 Kindreds. I have 1 Gnar. I think this is the moment that I figured out that I have QSS on Gnar. See, and now I just, like, the Rek'Sai I don't think is that tanky because I'm faded, so now I just have 2 items on Gnar, right? That should have happened like 3 or 4 rounds ago. Listen, if you watch this video and you're pissed off at me, I understand it. You know, I need to dial in better when I'm playing a lot of these games I'm playing super late at night, and I'm just not like super focused. I was more focused on like, you know, I was more stressed about my position, having not that much gold and losing a lot of fights. Do I win this? I don't think I win this, right? Yeah. This guy's execute with the gold collectors. That was kind of rough. Anyways, so I also made Nashers at one point, and now Malphite showed up, which is pretty cool. So Malphite makes it so that I don't have to sell any units on my board. I can actually like pivot a lot of the stuff around. It sucks because I just sold my Rek'Sai too, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, I think I was talking about most of this stuff. I don't know, I think there were small mistakes that I noticed a little bit, but I don't want to go back in the VOD to make it really long. I decided to just roll here on level 6 to see if I can collect some upgrades. Just like, you know, I want ideally a Gnar 2, which is why I'm rolling deep. I don't make the Aphelios because I'm kind of like, I should probably play this Thresh over the Aphelios though, but that's just me being slow. I'm gathering some units because I'm kind of committed to Kindred Nar. Because from my spot, level 6, 50 gold, I'm probably not making it to level 8 to play around like a Syndra board. And I don't think, like if you look at the lobby HP, I'm 82 HP. And most of these are like really low HP. So I kind of just want to commit to a reroll, because even if I miss on the reroll, I'll probably only get like a 5th, right? I'm kind of looking at my spot, and basically on 2-1, I was too hyper aggressive in trying to make my board value really high. Like my board was pretty expensive, right? And I didn't win out on stage 2, and I also didn't win out on stage 3. So it kind of just bit me really badly that I was playing around this like Gnar 1 where I made this QSS, right? If I can go back, I think the QSS slam was good, but I should have put on the Rek'Sai because the Rek'Sai just did more and ended up staying on my board for longer. I should also like prio my front line being a little bit better, right? Because I'm literally playing this Aphelios. I missed Thresh, right? Thresh would have been great here because Thresh paired with Yasuo with 5 faded is so much stronger. Anyways, I get a Titans drop, so I put it on the Gnar. And then I already have, like, if you look at it from my rolling, I'm already close to Kindred 3. So I just kind of send it here to 50, and then now I'm 1 off Kindred, so I send it to 0, right? I get my Gnar upgrade, which is fine. And Malphite showed up, so he can bench the units. I also found a Kayn. So, what I should do here is I should just roll. I might just wait to roll till next turn. Make 50. It's hard to say. But basically, whenever you're 1 off of a unit, you get like a huge spike from hitting the 3-star. So I should roll deep. I decided to just wait 1 turn, because next turn I'm just going to send it, right? It doesn't matter that I'm not close to Gnar. I'm just going to hit the Kindred. I'm going to level for this Kayn, because Kayn gives Reaper, right? The thing with this board that's really strong is that if you play a variation like this where you have Faded in, the Faded helps a lot with the front line, right? The biggest problem with like the Gnar Kindred line is that if you hit Kindred and you don't hit Gnar, your front line's kind of shit, right? You have like a bunch of 2 costs that don't really synergize, right? Usually you're playing like Aatrox and Shen and like, or Alawi, and it's not that great, right? It's like but when you have Faded is so much frontline. Like Faded can like keep you for most of stage 3 with frontline if you have like a Thresh. I didn't pick up the Thresh because I'm an idiot. But anyways, Inspiring Epitaph. Oh, I didn't show the stats yet. I want to hit this Kindred 3, and then we'll look at the Kindred 3 damage, and then we'll go over the stats. So here, I benched the unit because I just want to put items on the Kindred. Yeah, I don't think this is the best decision. I really should have gone to Thresh. I have to roll deep for this Kindred. Okay, we gotta get rolling. Pick up the pace. I'm getting confused. Pick up the pace. Alright. Gnar. Yeah, there we go, Kindred. Now I should just level for Kayn, which I think I will. Right, it's the right interval to level. I know I'm 0 gold, but the Reaper is important for the Kindred damage. My front line's still shit, though. I really should swap out somebody for Thresh and pair with the Thresh, and it would probably be a lot better. The extra armor. Anyways, if you watch this fight, you'll see something that I think sometimes you don't notice, which is something that I knew about. This is why I was kind of playing towards this line. Do you see where the guy's board is going? Like, holy fuck. This shit's strong as shit. If you don't know, Kindred with Hodge is extremely fucking strong because he just goes infinite. It's an actual demon. And you don't necessarily need a mana item. Ideally, you do have a mana item, but if you have a Nashor's Tooth is so good on Kindred because he attacks so fast and you just pump out damage. Plus the Reaper that does the extra bleed. It's insane. So, here, I'll show you some stats just to back it up so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. So, like, look, Kindred, I put Kindred 3-star. It averages like a 4.04. Idealism. Well, actually, we look at the items in general. Let's do craftable items. So typically you want like red buff for attack speed, Morello, blue buff, Rabadons. Last Whisper is good just because he spreads it. So if you're playing Gnar carry, you put the Last Whisper on him. And Nash's Tooth is also really good. Hodge is still minus Delta, which means it's still like good. It doesn't like hurt the Kindred. And there's a lot of games played with it. So it's not like, it's not bad. It's not like, you know, these games where it's like very situational because it's only a couple games. So like, you know, I wouldn't say just to, you know, use your head when you're looking at these. But look, when you play Idealism in, the average spikes down, right? It goes down to like a 3.8, right? It has a top 4 of almost 60% and a win percentage of close to 20, right? And if you put like Hand of Justice on, or Hodge, Hand of Justice on the Kindred, it drops even lower and your win percentage spikes to like 20%, right? And if you look at the best items, what are they? Morello, Nashers, right? Morello is just insanely good. It gives attack speed. It does the damage spread. You probably want to play like either Morello blue buff or Nashers blue buff or Rabadons or something like that. I don't have the high level stats to show you like the exact version with the other stuff, but Nashers is really fucking good on Kindred just in general because giving attack speed is always really strong. Now, as you can see, this is a very strong spot. The only thing that we really need to worry about is making our board like reliable, right? The biggest problem I have is frontline, right? I do have this Gnar that's pretty good, but Idealism is really good in this Dryad comp, right? Really what you want is triple combat. So I have a really good prismatic combat for this augment, for this board, because even the Kindred moving faster is really important because he just bounces around, makes it harder to target. Idealism is really good, and Inspiring Epitaph is also really good. So I have a bunch of shielding, a bunch of HP, a bunch of attack speed, and I have a bunch of bonus damage, right? It's like, what else could you ask for in this comp, right? Armor and MR, it's like, that's fine. Like, yeah, maybe if I fit an Altruist at one point. Look at this Kindred. Look at this shit. I think that's an Ash too. Did you see him? He's fucking going infinite. That's without a mana item either, because he just attacks so fast with all the attack speed buffs that I gave him. You don't even need a mana item in this case, right? I'm also like, I'm not that far off of Gnar. Now, rolling on 7, they up the odds of 2 costs on 7, so it is possible to play towards Gnar. I know this looks like a very boring game, but look how non-standard it is, right? I'm playing these faded units. They give extra AP to, well, it's not like, I'm not trying to say like I invented the wheel, right? But what I'm saying is you should be open to lines like this. Like if you hit an early Syndra and an Ahri, you can tempo a lot, right? Because like a lot of times, like on stage 4, Gnar players and Kindred players, you don't hit your board really strong. You really have to hit one of them by early stage 4, right? But what really matters is just that you have the damage and the ability to stabilize your board, right? My board's kind of stable. I think what I would have liked better is I think I don't need Arcanist. Where is it? I don't really need the Arcanist, so I can lose this. I can lose this dude for like you know, probably like a Thresh, maybe just some frontline unit, honestly, because the Ahri doesn't really do anything, right? I'm 3 Arcanist, I'm 3 Dryad. The reason I'm just playing the extra Dryad is because the extra HP from the Dryad stacks is like a good enough frontline. That's why I'm playing this Rek'Sai, because like what else am I gonna do, right? Like who else am I gonna put there? I need Warden for Gnar, so this is a must. I have the Ghost Leaf because of the Kayn, right? You can swap out these guys for like the regular board to have 4 Ghostly, but it's like it doesn't really matter to me because I just want I need the faded in. I'm just going on like a pure damage route, right? I have Kindred, which has attack speed from Kindred faded bonus, and then the Syndra faded bonus is bonus damage. So I'm just like fucking sending it down mid, right? Because that's what I hit, right? It's just thematic to what I'm doing. I'm looking at my items. I'm thinking, what should I make? Should probably just make Spark here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make Spark. Because my Kindred is my main damage item, right? Usually the Gnar is like the main carry and the Kindred does like utility a lot of the time. I'm rolling on 7 because as you can see, I've came into a situation now where I have good board value and good HP. My money's still bad, so I'm just kind of committing to the reroll. I'm rolling kind of to 30, right? The reason I'm rolling to 30 is because I'm Kane paired. I can collect Gnars. I'm also Alawi paired, right? So if you look at this, I have 3 things to roll for. I can also hit Aatrox 2 and maybe swap in the Aatrox or hit Shen 2. I know I had a bunch of Shens before and I sold them for Econ. But I'm saying like I could always pivot into the very standard version of the line. Even here, I almost beat this guy. And this guy's board is so much stronger than mine, right? It's just something to note, right? The main thing I want to illustrate is that, like, you know, sometimes you hit these rerolls and you just don't hit. Sometimes you do hit. You have to be open to playing a little bit of flexibility, even with the reroll lines. Sometimes this doesn't necessarily work. Obviously, my lobby is also a little bit weak. And I'm uncontested, so that also helps. Also, I kind of high rolled this Gnar. Can we not lie? What was that? A double Gnar shop? So I just hit the Gnar for free. So, you know what? Yeah. And now we're back, right? Now my board's looking fucking strong, right? Like, who do I lose to? This guy? No. Look, this guy's piss-ass board. You know, a lot of people are greeding to go 9. I think that's the problem, right? When you're in a lobby, I think I identified it earlier. Like, when I was looking and nobody was going reroll, a lot of times, like, there's different things, right? When everybody's going reroll, you're kind of forced to go reroll. Because if you don't go reroll, then you're just trolling because everybody's going to hit really strong boards and you won't have HP and you'll just die, right? Sometimes when, like, a lot of people are greeding to go, like, level 8, level 9, it's the right decision to greed to go level 8, level 9 because then you're just going to get outcapped by the whole lobby, right? But if you run into a situation where either too many people are playing reroll or too many people are going 9, then like counter strategies work really well, because in this lobby a lot of people are greeding to go 9, or a lot of people went 8 and didn't hit, like they played the level 8 lottery. Me just staying at level 7 and not having that many units, it's not as punishing because right, like for me at least, I didn't have enough gold to go to level 8 and 9, right, based on my opener. So I correctly identified, okay, I have to commit to something low level and maybe eventually I'll hit later. Anyways, this guy's like almost Kaisa 3, by the way. But I don't really care, right? I went from a position that was probably like a bot 4, and that's what I feel like. Like, if you should always set yourself up for like a reroll out, right? So when I started the game, I started with just playing the Dryads because that was like what I thought was my best opener. Maybe it's not the most correct decision, but the idea behind it was that I wanted to have this reroll out in case I wasn't able to make it to 8, make it to 9, because then I just go bot 4 for free. I hit the Syndra. If I was contested Gnar, I would have just played around the Syndra and faded, right? I would have gone to level 8 to try and not play towards Aphelios, but I would have played towards Syndra carry with some sort of melee frontline, right? If I didn't hit Syndra, I would have played another AP, right? I would play AP flex, right? Backline, right? Remember what I was talking about? It would be backline, AP, frontline, melee, right? That was like my game plan from the start, right? So I ended up doing a reroll version of the comp. But instead, what I could have done is I could have just done something else. Also, I'm not even 4 Dryad. I'm 3 Dryad the whole game because I never found an Ornn because the lobby's playing Ornn. But I'm still highest HP in the lobby because I preserved my HP correctly. And I'm hoping that I'll bleed out to like a 4th, right? I don't even care about the guy that has the Kaisa 3 coming online. Because a guy hitting a Kaisa 3 in this case is the best case scenario for me, right? You might say to yourself, why is that a good case scenario? I'm broke and I probably won't outcap most of the lobby. If that guy hits Kaisa 3, fuck it. You know, let him hit it. Let him kill off the entire lobby because I'm at least 3 lives, right? Even if he has Kaisa 3. He has to fight me 3 times for me to die. The other people, these guys are all 1 life if they fight a Kaisa 3. They're all fucking dead. So you know what? Kill everybody in the lobby and give me a top 4. I'm down, right? I'm totally okay with that. But either way, because I have the Dryad stacks from earlier, when you upgrade to 4 Dryad, I just get a bunch more HP. So it works out, right? That's the thing with Dryad. The main thing with Dryad isn't about like when you hit Dryad or Dryad +1 or Mult. If you're playing for just the top 4, You really just need it in early. You need to get those early stacks early game when you can, and you need upgrades early, right? I hit this Kindred 3 very early, right? Just because I just naturaled a bunch of Kindreds, right? I rolled a little bit on 6. I hit a bunch more. It was very strong. I got this Faded +1, so I just put Faded on Ornn, and now I paired this and this. I think later on, like the Faded bonus is taking like reduced damage, plus it gives bonus HP. I'm probably gonna switch it on to the Gnar and then pair Kindred and Gnar, just because those are my two like real units, and then the Faded bonus gives them 20% bonus health, which is insane because it's Dryad, so they have scaling health, so I'll just have like infinite health, right? So Faded spat works really well here with the Dryads as well. But this is all thematic, right? Look, I still have this Syndra on my board, right? I'm 3 Ghostly, but you have to understand, 4 Ghostly doesn't really matter in this comp, because the Ghostly units, they gain those Ghostly stacks primarily from being super tanky. And if you're not itemizing towards the Ghostly units, this is something I see a lot of times, right? I see Gnar players prioritizing holding on to Shens and holding on to Aatroxes. In my opinion, you shouldn't worry about those units as much as hitting the main units, right? Because the Shen and the Aatrox, they're not going to get items until late in the game. Look, I have a Spark and I have a Faded thing, so maybe there'd be like 2 items on Shen, but you have to prio full items on these 2 for much of the early game, so you want to hit those as 3-star, right? I've played like Senna Shen, and I've been griefed by Gnar players just holding a bunch of Shens on their bench, not even on their board, just holding them on their bench and just going 8th because they're just holding Shens and Aatrox on their bench. The Ghostly isn't as important as long as you have good combat, right? The Ghostly helps out with damage, obviously, but I have triple combat, so I'm very strong. I have 2 3-star units, I'm very strong, and my combats are actually good for my comp, right? They thematically work. I have attack speed, HP healing, plus increased damage and shielding, which all helps to units that scale with HP, right? If you have an HP shield, if you have a bunch of HP, that's really fucking good. If you have healing on a bunch of HP, that's really good. And then if you have attack speed and movement speed increases, that's really good. Anyways, I'm pretty sure the Kai'Sa guy already hit the Kai'Sa by now. I don't really care at all. I get an item, I just put on the Syndra, fuck it. She can do some crazy shit, whatever. But yeah, that's just how I kind of coasted. Obviously, I high rolled the Gnar a little bit, right? If I didn't have this Gnar, would I do as well as I was? I'd probably be like 20 HP less, right? Let's say I didn't hit the Gnar and I lost 3 or 4 fights, right? I would probably still be top 4, right? Or at worst, I'd probably be like 5th, right? Look at the HP of the lobby, right? Because the Kindred is a demon, right? The Kindred, if you have Kindred, you can play this Faded line. Like, obviously, this Faded line doesn't work if you have a Kindred too. Now that I got blue buff, I switched the items like this. I think that's correct, and I also put the Faded emblem on the Gnar because he gains a shit ton of HP. I think that's like my best chance of just like mitigating damage from like losing out. But the guy who has the Kai'Sa, he won the lobby, you know what I mean? He has Kai'Sa 3. Now this guy, he just played a better game, right? Look, he had this I'm pretty sure this gave him Kai'Sa, and then he took reinforcement. So he just had like giga augments to go for a 3-star out, and then he just hit, right? He also had a way, so it was like guaranteed, right? Like even if I tried to deny him, it, like, you know, but I was not in a position to deny, right? Even though like I might have beat this guy if he didn't have Kai'Sa 3, right? Look, he has Kai'Sa 3, it's pretty close, right? You know, if my Kindred lived a little bit longer, maybe I win out. But like, there's nothing you can do there, right? There's sometimes you can grief people, and sometimes there's nothing you can do, right? Like, what was I gonna do? Roll to 0 every turn, looking for a singular Kai'Sa? He has a fucking Hui, right? It's like, okay. He also can just level and get the Kai'Sa, I'm pretty sure, because he had the starter kit Kai'Sa, right? I put some items on the Kayn. I don't really care anymore, to be honest, right? I feel like I played this game as good as I could. Not as good as I could. So the main thing that I focus on is that there was a lot of mistakes early game, especially mid game, that I had the Gnar on the bench with the items. I slammed the item on the Gnar. I should have just slammed it on the Rek'Sai and then replaced the Rek'Sai later. A lot of those things made me lose some HP, and I did point out my mistakes. I'm never saying that I'm a perfect player. There's a reason that I am not challenger or mastered yet. It's because, you know, a lot of times I'm focusing on other parts of the board and other parts of the game, and I miss very obvious mistakes, like, oh shit, like I have a fucking item on my bench on a Gnar that I'm not playing, and this is bad, right? That, like, I lose placements because of those things, but, you know, conceptually I'm trying to do other stuff. And I just want to illustrate that, especially with these lines, like, this is just why I want to show why some reroll lines are very strong, right? This line got nerfed a lot, but as you can see, I didn't tunnel vision out of this Syndra. Like, I didn't just sell Syndra and roll for Shen and Aatrox, right? This Syndra and this Faded, like, eventually I hit this Faded +1, but this helped me a lot, right? The Syndra did so much damage early game that I was able to play around the Syndra. The Faded bonus with the Kindred, there was all those fights where I didn't have, like, a fully upgraded front line, but I was still, like, Kindred went demon mode because of the Hodge, right? Idealism Kindred, fucking broken, right? And that's something that you learn from looking at stats, right? I had an idea about it because I've played this line so many times. I've looked at the stats and I've seen which augments work really well. But generally, most combat augments, like attack speed and other stuff, work out really well with these traits. Anyways, I'm kind of just rolling for fun here. Maybe I hit Ornn 3. I'm just going to sell my whole board for fun because it's the last fight. I don't beat that guy. So this is pretty cool. Check this out. Yeah. I found this really funny. So I have like 0 gold. I found the last Kaisa. If you don't know, there's how many are there? There's 10. There's 11 Kaisas, right? So I found one of the last 2 Kaisas before I found like Ornns. So I just put it in for silly time, right? Like, yes, Kaisa 3 and I have Kaisa 1. So, you know, if you look at my match history, it has a little funny thing. But it's like funny I found the last one. Not the last one, but like one of the last ones. Anyways, hopefully that was illustrative, right? I thought this would be, even though I've already posted about Kindred Nar, I think like 2 or 3 times by now. I thought it was like really informative, especially mid game, like realizing that I can't go 8, just kind of sending it a little bit. But obviously I high rolled a little bit. There's a chance I never hit Kindred 3, I never hit Gnar 3, and then it's a bot 4. But I was pretty doomed from the start. Like, it was really hard to find something to play around, especially in like a prismatic lobby when other people are really strong. But identifying that like with my augments I can stabilize around Kindred at a low level, right? Like I would be down to stay level 6 and keep rolling for the last Kindred. But from this point onwards, I just didn't lose like a fight all of this stage, right? I just like this Kindred just fucking went demon mode, right? Because like it's just good, right? And I didn't even have a mana item on him, right? Just important things to look at, right? And just to be really cognizant about like how things synergize with different traits and with different augments, right? You know, I played 3 Dryad most of the game, but it doesn't matter because when you get the 4 Dryad, you get the HP buff anyways, right? So you just want to make sure that you're killing units while Dryads are in, right? So it counts towards that because the trait gets the bonuses, right? Anyways, I digress. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this was informative. It might not be the most interesting video. You might look at it and be like, oh, he just played Kindred Nar really fucking bad and he got lucked out with a Kindred 3. But I do want to show some concepts of like you can play around Faded with this line, right? If you don't hit the Nar or the Kindred, you can pivot into Faded. Like, you know, you can go 8 and play around the Syndra. If you hit a Syndra 2, like a high roll on level 7, right? You roll on level 7 odds, right? If I was contested and people didn't sell their Nars and their Kindreds, I would just go 7, try and hit a Syndra 2 early, get some stabilization units, go 8, like 4, 5 instead, try and cap up my board, play for a top 4, right? There's different situations like that you can do. Anyways, goodbye. See you guys next time.